The 5 best most mysterious places in America. 1. Roswell. In July of 1947, a rancher named Mac Brazel in Roswell, New Mexico discovered strange debris in his sheep pasture. He called the sheriff, who called the local Army airfield, who sent intelligence officer Major Jesse Marcel out to the site to investigate. Marcel looked at the debris and concluded that it was the remains of a fallen flying saucer. The next day, the Roswell Daily Record put out an article headline "Draft Captures Flying Saucer on Ranch in Roswell Region." That same day, officials investigated further and declared that the debris was actually a destroyed weather balloon. The next day the Daily Record printed a retraction of their original story, and an embarrassed Major Marcel shared that he had been wrong. Later on, it came out that the weather balloon story had, in fact, been a cover-up. The debris in Brazel's yard actually came from Project Mogul, a highly classified military project, in which scientists had been sending out high-altitude balloons containing sound sensors with the goal of spying on nuclear tests in distant locations. 2. Georgia Guidestones. In June 1979, a man named R.C. Christian approached the Albert and Granite Finishing Corporation about completing a curious project. He insisted that cost wasn't an issue and seemed to have an endless supply of money. After the project was completed, all plans for the project were to be destroyed and all information about him kept a secret. 9 months later, the Georgia Guidestones were revealed for the first time to a group of around 100 people. The viewers saw 4 granite slabs, each around 20 feet tall, circled around a center slab with a capstone on top. Each of the Guidestones contained 10 instructions for humanity, beginning: maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity, unite humanity with a living new language, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. These instructions were written in 8 different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. After commissioning the monument, the man who called himself R.C. Christian disappeared. Despite the obvious care and attention put into constructing the Guidestones, no one knows exactly why Christian wanted them built, nor what their messages really mean. The stones, which include the words, "Let these be Guidestones to an age of reason," seem to defy all reason. 3. The grave of the female stranger. The legend goes that a young couple arrived by ship in Alexandria, Virginia in 1816. They stayed in room 8 of Gatsby's Tavern, where the husband sent for a doctor to tend to his ill wife, who had covered herself with a thick veil upon arriving. That's when things got weird, because the woman's husband wouldn't allow the doctor or nurses to reveal his young wife's identity. She passed away shortly thereafter, and her husband buried her without telling anyone in town about her death. Her tombstone bears this engraving: "To the memory of a female stranger whose mortal sufferings terminated on the 14th day of October 1816, aged 23 years and 8 months. This stone was placed here by her disconsolate husband, in whose arms she sighed out her latest breath, and who under God did his utmost to soothe the cold dull hour of death." No one knows who this young woman was, nor why her identity was kept secret. Some theorize that she was Theodosia Burr Alston, daughter of Aaron Burr, who had been lost at sea, and some people claim to see her ghost roaming the grounds. One thing is for sure, no one would have thought twice about the female stranger if she had a name. So if you want to be remembered forever, make sure to leave your name off of your tombstone. 4. Cahokia Mounds. The stereotype of Native Americans is one of small groups of nomads, traveling around and living in temporary camps. But while that may have been the case when Europeans arrived in the late 15th century, a few centuries earlier, things were quite different. Evidence for this can be found in Illinois, at a place called Cahokia Mounds. Currently comprised of a group of nearly 70 earthen mounds, it is believed to have numbered over 120 when the site was occupied between 700 to 1400 AD. At its peak, around 1200 AD, the city probably had a population of around 100,000 people, and covered an area of 6 square miles. Many skeletons have been found at the site, some buried in obvious ceremony, and others displaying evidence of human sacrifice, but that is not the mystery. Within 2 centuries of the civilization's peak, the site had been completely abandoned. Since the occupants left behind no writings, little evidence exists to explain why. Even the folklore of local tribes lacks any mention of the city, leading to suggestions that whatever happened must have been so terrible, the events were deliberately forgotten. Or, maybe they just got tired of Illinois. 5. Coral Castle. Edward Leeds Coleman spent 28 years constructing Coral Castle in Homestead, Florida, but how he did it is something of a mystery. Constructed of massive blocks of limestone averaging 15 tons each that he quarried from nearby, Coral Castle is a haphazard arrangement of standing stones, sculptures, and buildings. There's little explanation for how a 100-pound man from Latvia could have single-handedly quarried, moved, and carved the 1,100 tons of stone the structure was eventually comprised of, without heavy machinery. When asked, he simply claimed to know the secrets of the building of the pyramids. The only eyewitness reports came from a group of kids, who described him working at night and making stones levitate like balloons filled with hydrogen. He claimed to have built the structure in honor of his long-lost love, who abandoned him the day before they were due to marry, leaving him heartbroken. If true, this gives a whole new, and very literal, meaning to the phrase emotional walls.